Good morning slash afternoon slash evening, whenever and wherever you're watching this. Welcome back to another episode, and episode 83 of the Pitchside Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the BSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast and match recaps and all of the content on the channel. Follow us on social media. I'm at BSP on Twitter, Pitchside on Instagram, and you can listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcast, and any other platform. You are welcome. We kick things off in the Bundesliga, of course, the start of round 24 of action in the Bundesliga, round 23 in the Bundesliga. Of course, on Friday it was Werder Bremen defeating Eintracht Frankfurt 2-1. Werder Bremen, of course, managing with that victory to improve their status in the middle of the table, while Eintracht Frankfurt really dealt, I think, a big blow in terms of their Champions League chances in the Bundesliga. Of course, on Saturday, Bayern Munich kicked things off by defeating Köln 5-1. It was a big performance from Bayern again. I think it's a great performance from Bayern. The sort of match and result and display that Bayern needed, after the victory against Lazio in the Champions League, which comes, of course, after a rough spell in the Bundesliga, the draw against Bielefeld and the loss against Eintracht Frankfurt. Nominally, the return of Thomas Müller, I think, was the highlight of this game for me. I think, missing him from that lineup, it's different. It's different when you have Thomas Müller on the side. It doesn't make... it doesn't make the same sort of, thrill in the lineup when Thomas Müller isn't there. He got himself an assist just 1 minute after being subbed onto the pitch. Leon Goretzka got, a double. Musiala had a good game before getting subbed off for Thomas Müller, the original number 10 and the original second striker in the Bayern squad. He gets himself an assist. Lucas Hernandez gets an assist. Goretzka gets a hat-trick of assists, of course, and Bayern managed to roll over Köln 5-1. Again, the only thing happy about for Köln in this game is the fact that fellow Tunisian Elias Skiri scored a goal, and a beautiful goal, by the way. Again, as I mentioned in the review, joining the elite players that managed to chip it over Neuer to score. A 5-1 important victory again for Bayern that would really, keep the tone going in the Bundesliga. I'm going to get to Leipzig in a little bit. They are always on the heels of Bayern Munich. Borussia Dortmund, after a rough first half, they managed to roll over Arminia Bielefeld as well in the second half. 3-0 it was in the second half. Mahmoud Dahoud scored in the 48th minute before Jadon Sancho managed from the spot to add his second goal. And then, of course, it was Renier, the sub, coming on for Marco Reus in the 80th minute, scoring in the 81st thanks to an assist from Erling Haaland. Didn't score, but, took his part in the game. Now that, of course, Dortmund go up to 5th with 39 points. They get themselves back on the right track in the last couple of weeks with two important victories against Schalke and now against Arminia Bielefeld. Yes, against, bottom table sides, relegation battlers sides who you supposedly should beat, but still, a win is a win for Borussia Dortmund, and they should take the wins when they come in the Bundesliga. From Dortmund to Stuttgart, who, speaking of Schalke, who managed to drop them even more into the water, I always mention when I talk about Schalke, it is sad to see them. It is absolutely sad to watch Schalke this season in the Bundesliga. They just get themselves in more of a muddy water each time and each week passes. Stuttgart managed to drop them 5-1. The first two goals were copycats of each other, really. Bad set-piece defending. For a team that went on and bought Mustafi and brought Kolasinac in and brought Klaas-Jan Huntelaar back in hopes of getting something out of this game, it ends up not improving anything in them. Wataru Endo scores twice inside the first half an hour with the same drill. A corner not well defended by Schalke goes into the far post, and Endo's waiting there to finish it. 2-0 it was at half an hour for Stuttgart, and you know that the game is done and dusted when you are 2-0 down in half an hour. Galandzic at the third, just 4 minutes after the half an hour mark. Kolasinac made it 3-1, but, the game was well beyond repair there. And, of course, the second half witnessed two late goals for Schalke by Clement and Didavi. The fifth goal was superbly finished, by the way, from Didavi. This victory sees Stuttgart go to ninth in the table, 32 points. I mean, quite far from the European spots, but still a good position nonetheless for a side that, was battling relegation themselves a couple of years ago. As for Schalke, it's just more, dirt on them. The worst defense by a country mile in the Bundesliga, 61 goals conceded. It's a ridiculous milestone. It is absolutely ridiculous. Bayern on the other side scored 67, while Schalke conceded 61. It's the reverse. It's literally the reverse situation of Bayern at the top. Wolfsburg 10 men down since or late on in the game after Pongracic being sent off. Wolfsburg managed to defeat a struggling Hertha Berlin in the middle of the table, 2-0. A goal from Klünter, a goal from Klünter in the 38th minute, followed by a second goal from Maxence Lacroix, the defender, from the cross from Maximilian Arnold. 2-0 for Wolfsburg against Hertha Berlin. Wolfsburg continue their good form, continue their great form, and continue to be third in the table and getting closer to a return to the Champions League, something that they didn't do since 2016-17 season. It's going to be incredible for them when they return to that competition. If they do so, of course, they need to keep their form going. They are the strongest defense in the Bundesliga at the moment, which is, something quite incredible as well. This is another clean sheet. This is another clean sheet for them, and this is the fifth this is the sixth, like eighth, actually. 8 clean sheets in a row. Count them. 8 clean sheets in a row. The last time they conceded goals, it was against Leipzig in the 2-2 draw, and then, of course, they didn't concede, including 7 wins and a goalless draw against Borussia Mönchengladbach. They're quite solid at the back, and it will be incredible to see how they're going to keep this going until the end of the season. And then, of course, in the big game of the weekend in the Bundesliga, RB Leipzig turning things around against Borussia Mönchengladbach, and everybody thought, well, after the first half at least, we thought, well, RB Leipzig are going to be, out of it. The first half was so good for Mönchengladbach. Like, the start of it was so brilliant. Jonas Hoffmann scored from the penalty spot, a penalty that, pretty controversial in terms of should it been given, should it not. Some referees give it, some not, but the referee on the night gave it for Borussia Mönchengladbach, and Jonas Hoffmann scored. Then Marcus Thuram managed to add a second goal, or really it flicked off him to add the second goal from Berlin Bolo's head. Leipzig were really, really bad in the first half. They played really high. They left themselves, I think, too exposed, as they usually do. In the second half, they were more composed, and when they are more composed, and with Borussia Mönchengladbach going defending and sitting deep, trying to play on the counter, trying to catch them off guard, it didn't work. The first, a goal was disallowed for Alexander Soloth in the 50th minute. Followed that, 7 minutes later, Christopher Nkunku managed to equalise properly, this time for RB Leipzig, before Yusuf Poulsen made it 2-2 inside the 66 minutes, and then Leipzig went all over Borussia Mönchengladbach, and in the end, Mönchengladbach crumbled, and as Marco Rose's side got a controversial penalty early on in the game, RB Leipzig got a controversial goal late on in the game. Soloth did look like he pushed Denis Zakaria, but it didn't really. It didn't really bother the referee to check it. 3-2 for Leipzig. They make a comeback, and of course, that doesn't really take away anything from the fact that they make a comeback and they showed strong character to return. This is going to bode well for them in the league in terms of being in the competition, but also there is the Champions League on the horizon. You need to think about this. If you're going to be starting bad against Liverpool in the second leg of the Champions League, you're going to give yourself a lot of trouble to work with. So overall, after the end of the Bundesliga Saturday, it looks like it's going down to the wire. It looks like it will be Bayern Munich, Leipzig, neck and neck till the end, or at least till the match between them in the Bundesliga, which is going to be roughly around, I think it's going to be around like late April, sort of that stuff. It would be interesting to see see how Leipzig are going to keep up the momentum going until the direct clash against Bayern, which is going to be on the 3rd of April. Mark your calendars, everybody. This is, I think, the title decider for the Bundesliga. Obviously, this is obviously going to define where the Bundesliga is heading, hands down. If both sides keep their fixtures going until there, of course, RB Leipzig have quite the interesting fixtures. DFB Pokal game coming on midweek against Wolfsburg in the quarterfinals. Then they have Freiburg away in the league. Then they have Liverpool in the Champions League. Then Eintracht Frankfurt, Arminia Bielefeld away in the Bundesliga. And after that, it will be, of course, Bayern Munich. Speaking of Bayern Munich, the next couple of fixtures are interesting as well for the Bavarian champions. They face Dortmund in the Klassiker next Saturday. They face Werder Bremen, of course, away from home the Saturday after. Then they have Lazio in the Champions League. Then they have Stuttgart. Then, of course, they have RB Leipzig in the league away. This is going to be an interesting month, let's say, to watch for the Bundesliga, and we'll see how things are going to be panning out as well. It does look like Bayern's any slip for Bayern is going to be costly, because Leipzig showed, as we discussed now, the character that they have to make a comeback and the character that they have to keep themselves in the discussion of the Bundesliga title. The Bundesliga continues, of course, the fixture continues today. Union Berlin host Hoffenheim, Mainz host Augsburg, and Bayer Leverkusen host Freiburg. Let's go to the Premier League now, and before we get to the big point of the Premier League, which is obviously Man City and their almighty streak going on at the moment, let's take a look at the other games, of course, and I'm going to be, focusing just a little bit on an idea, or on a story, really, that is one of the freakiest stories in the world of football at the moment. It's just one of the weirdest things that happened, I think, in a while. So let's go through the matches really quickly. West Brom defeated Brighton 1-0. Leeds defeated Aston Villa. Aston Villa defeated Leeds 1-0 away from home. Newcastle drawn against Wolves 1-1. And of course, Man City early on in this day defeated West Ham 2-1. But the story, or the biggest story, comes from the West Brom Brighton game. It's an inconsequential game. It's as inconsequential and as unimportant in the bigger scale of the Premier League as any game from relegation battlers or from bottom of the table. But it comes with one of the weirdest incidents ever happened in the Premier League. Seriously, it's one of the weirdest, if not the weirdest. And it's again, there's a couple of incidents this season that only happen in Brighton games. I don't know, Brighton and VAR, debacles, VAR incidents, wrong refereeing decision. I don't know what's that relationship with Brighton that these things have, but they happen always with Brighton anyway. It wasn't the game against Liverpool at home for Brighton. It wasn't the game against it was against Man United at home to Brighton as well. And this one is, I think, the weirdest of the lot. So do not waste time. The long story short, in the 30th minute, Brighton get a free kick. Lewis Dunk gets to take it. He plays it quickly and curls it into the top of the top corner and scores it. The referee blows the whistle before the ball went went over line and it was scored. And he decides that it wasn't a goal because the goalkeeper wasn't ready. So he goes down, he checks it to VAR, and then he decides that he's not going to be allowing it again. He whistles twice. He whistles twice in the space of seconds. He whistles against the goal and then whistles for the goal, and then he goes to VAR and checks it. It was one of the weirdest things happening. It spawned a lot of controversy. It spawned a lot of debate. And I think Fairley is going to get quite the abuse for Lee Mason, the referee of the game, as well. But again, it needs to be mentioned. It's one of the weirdest things that ever happened in the Premier League, in an inconsequential game, as I mentioned. In the bigger scale of things, it just it took attention almost from everything happening in the Premier League, and it was the story of the day in the British newspapers, and obviously it will be, because what Lee Mason did was so weird in that game. Anyway, Aston Villa, as we mentioned, defeated Leeds away from home 1-0. Quite a decent victory for them. It was a great performance from Emiliano Martinez as well, who pulled a couple of saves for Aston Villa to keep them alive. He was injured, but he refused to go out, and he continued to play the game against Leeds. Aston Villa now 39 points at 8th, and if they win the games that they have in hand, they'll probably go into a top 4 conversation, and we really like to see that from Aston Villa. Newcastle, of course, drawn against Wolves 1-1 in a surprising turn of events, a shocking turn of events. Newcastle actually had a lot of attempts. A Steve Bruce side, Newcastle, had a lot of attempts on goal, had a lot of shots, and played an offensive game and scored goals. Like, life is weird. Life is getting really weird. Wolves managed to equalise late on thanks to Ruben Neves from an assist from Pedro Neto in the 73rd minute after Jamal Lascelles scored early on in the second half to make it 1 for Newcastle. This is a draw, that would, not help Newcastle because they stay 17th with 26 points, 4 points ahead of Fulham, which is not a safe space really because they could drop at any time. Fulham have the better chance to get better results than Newcastle in the next couple of weeks. But Wolves, they move up they keep 12th place behind Arsenal, and they also, they need a couple of victories really, Wolves back-to-back, I think, to get the momentum going in the league. But of course, forget about all of that. The big focus point comes on early on in the day. Man City defeat West Ham 2-1. I expected it to be hard, I expected it to be intense, and it certainly was. It was the 20th victory in a row for Guardiola's side this season in all competitions, but certainly it didn't come without some hard work. The first half in particular was tremendous for West Ham. They had a terrific defensive performance. I would say they could have easily went ahead in this game. They had a couple of dangerous chances. Edison, played with fire in an instant with Fernandinho and almost got the ball took off him. The couple of chances for Antonio. Jesse Lingard was moving a lot in that first half. It was an incredible display from West Ham defensively. Yes, they conceded a goal, but still, overall, they didn't allow Man City a lot of room to do what they want to do, which is to play intricately between the line and drop and move and do that. They were solid, they were really stable in the first half, and they got a draw in the first half, which is incredible. And the goal, I think, this game exposed a couple of Man City's weakness. And when I say exposed, I don't mean it in the disastrous kind of thing. It showed some dents in the armor. It shows that Man City are humans, and the players of Man City are humans, and they can make mistakes. And certainly Diaz and Stones made some marking mistakes in the goal, and the whole defense of Man City was too static in that particular action. So that might be a way that other teams could exploit in order to get things going for them against Man City. It will be hard because Man City will score against them on the other end, but it will be interesting to see if this is going to be just a blueprint for the other clubs to defeat Man City or to try and get the best result possible against Man City. Michael Antonio, of course, equalised in the 43rd minute. Then Man City intensified their pressure in the second half. They got more chances as West Ham sat deeper and deeper, of course, and the goal came from John Stones after the first goal coming from Ruben Diaz, from all people, the centre defenders coming in with the goods today, with the presence of Aguero not being efficient whatsoever. We didn't feel Aguero on the pitch. Sorry, Sergio, I like you as an attacker. I think you're one of the best strikers ever in terms of scoring goals and the qualities, but, it's not your time anymore, man. I think it's over for you. Man City probably should look for another striker, or they should just drop the striker thing. If they're going to continuing without striker, they should be finding solutions elsewhere up the pitch. So it's a 20th victory for Man City. It didn't come at a cost. It came at the expense of allowing or chipping in a couple of goals here and there, but seriously, it didn't. Man City are going so strong at the moment that it's impossible to think that they could lose any other game. Probably they would go unbeaten from here until the end of the season. They continue the season without losing. It's going to be incredible. Man City are undefeated in 2021 on a mean run, on the meanest of the mean runs, I would say, with 20 victories in a row. Of course, the Premier League gets even hotter on Sunday. It's Crystal Palace versus Fulham. Leicester City, Arsenal, Tottenham, Burnley, Chelsea versus Man United, of course, we're going to be reviewing that game, Sheffield United versus Liverpool, and Everton facing Southampton on Monday. West Ham, I think, just to finish off, West Ham don't lose anything by losing, they still fourth. I mean, they could remain fourth if Chelsea do not defeat Manchester United on Sunday, but even if they drop to fifth, they will still be so good this season, and they will still have the chance to finish in the top four, which is going to be a big improvement from the last couple of seasons under David Moyes, who deserves all the credit in the world, really, for working hard with that side. Into Spain now, and the La Liga action, of course, yesterday in round 25. It was incredible, really. It was, incredible to watch from a Barcelona point of view, because that's the biggest talking point in the Liga yesterday. A bar drawn against Huesca 1-1, then Alaves lost to Osasuna at home 1-0. Getafe managed to defeat Valencia 3-0, a 10-man Valencia, nonetheless 3-0 in an interesting game. But of course, the biggest point comes from Barcelona, and I think all the negatives I said about Barcelona in yesterday's episode, I would say I would take them off, or on Friday's episode, I would take them off now, and I would replace them with all the positives in the world, because it was a great display. There was a very positive performance from Barcelona on Saturday against Sevilla. They went to Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, pretty much not the favourites to win, and they know that Sevilla got them a lot of troubles. The general consensus amongst fans and amongst pundits and amongst experts and amongst me, really as well, is that Barcelona are going to have a terrible performance against Sevilla and are not going to be winning. And certainly they flipped the expectations 180. They started with a different formation. That's quite the good choice from Ronald Koeman. It was pretty effective, I think, to play with three at the back for Barcelona. He did it a couple of times in La Liga this season, and it showed how effective it could be. And I think this showed how it could be effective again against a side like Sevilla, who have players who like to make runs really up front. And the choice of Mingueza, Piqué, and Longley, it protects even Piqué in the back. It protects him as a central defender. When he has central defenders alongside him on the right hand side, the left hand side, instead of having the right back who he needs to cover for him, or a left back who he needs to cover for him, so it leaves space behind him. That was quite a change from Barcelona, and it was quite an effective change against a side like Sevilla, who have a strong defense and who are known for being defensively strong. They still the second best defense in the league behind Atletico. Atletico conceded 16, and Sevilla conceded with today's goals, with Saturday's goals, they conceded 18. The two goals coming in from Ousmane Dembele and Lionel Messi. Overall, I think Barcelona were quite slower than usual, but I think it served them well, because against a side like Sevilla, who, again, like to find spaces and like to run in behind, it would serve them well. And, in the first half, Barcelona didn't create a lot, but they certainly got a goal in the first proper chance that they had. Sevilla didn't have a lot of chances, they weren't there. Maybe they chose not to play, they chose to, reserve their sort of efforts into the cup game and the cup tie coming on in the Camp Nou on Wednesday. Certainly a big one, and Barcelona have a lot of hope now after this victory of 2-0 to manage to turn things around and score 3 goals and win 3-0 at the Camp Nou to qualify to the cup final. I still don't think it will happen. I don't think it will happen, really, for Barcelona. That's going to be a different ball game, and if you're going to be playing with this same side, even with the same formation, Sevilla are going to be unlocking you in some ways. Just one thing about Sevilla, really, I still don't understand why playing Papu Gomez as a winger. This is something that doesn't work. The choices from Lopetegui were weird for the lineup as well. Why start with Luuk de Jong? And Nesiri was a better option. I think he's a better suited player for these kind of situations. Why you start with him over Nesiri, nobody knows. But anyways, Sevilla, lost the game. Probably they won't care about being third or fourth on the table, because unless they're competing for the La Liga title, which mathematically they're not, or mathematically they are really, but they don't want to. They want to win a trophy. They wanted to win the cup. They want to go and be serial winners. Really, that's what they want. The choices from Lopetegui again were weird tactically for this game, and he paid the price for them by Barcelona playing a little bit higher, playing a little bit more intense, and really defending smartly and defending effectively. And keeping a clean sheet against Sevilla isn't exactly something easy, as much as scoring against them isn't something easy as well. So it's going to be now interesting to see how the cup tie is going to shape between them and how everything is going to be looking on Wednesday in the Camp Nou. So the fixtures continue, of course, with Celta Vigo facing Valladolid, Cadiz facing Betis, Granada facing Elche, Villarreal facing Atletico Madrid, and Real Madrid facing Sociedad. That is going to be on Monday in La Liga. Finishing off, and we're going to go to Italy now, the Serie A round 24 kicking off with Spezia going 2-0 down, only to come back in the game and manage a 2-2 draw against visitors Parma, of course. Incredible point, I think, for Spezia, despite the fact that it won't help them. I mean, they are 25 points in 16th, and they are above the relegation zones with 5 points above Torino, 10 above Cagliari and Parma, and 13 above Crotone. So I think it's safe to say that they saved themselves this season from being relegated. So it will be really, I think, a struggle for Parma to avoid that fate this season. A 2-2 draw that won't help them, and for a side that was, moving around the mid-table last season, it would be quite sad to see them relegated. Lazio coming off the back, of course, of the loss against Bayern in the Champions League. They lose again against Bologna, and they go 2-0 down inside 64 minutes. Ciro Immobile missing a penalty. When something doesn't go your way, it just doesn't go your way, and things did not go Lazio's way against Bologna. They 2-0 lost against a side that defended really well. They closed down really well. They had a terrific defensive second half and an offensive first half. They took what they wanted from the game, and then they sat back deep and then allowed Lazio to have possession, but without any meaningful, sort of penetration. Then, of course, in the night, it was Verona versus Juve, and we thought, well, after the shambolic performances in Champions League, and, after the couple of results in the league, and the performances generally in the league were not good for Juventus. A draw against Genoa, draws against Verona, after the victory against Crotone, which comes after a couple of losses back-to-back in the Champions League and in the league. I mean, Juve really could not win 2 games in a row for their lives, to save their lives this season. I mean, seriously, it doesn't look like it's happening for them. Like, after a good streak of 6 matches in a row winning in the league and in the cup as well, they didn't look like they were doing anything significant in the last 5 games or so. Even the victory against Crotone came, late on in the first half. Like, they pretty much had a 40-minute spell in that game where they weren't any good. Against Verona, they had the same thing. The first half wasn't good in any shape or form. They didn't manage to score until the 49th minute with Cristiano Ronaldo from Federico Chiesa, with the first proper chance really for Juventus in the game in the second half. Then, of course, Verona managed to go forward. Like, Juventus didn't have any shot. They didn't have any shots more than the goal and another couple of shots. 3 shots in the second half. Verona had more attempts, and they scored, and eventually scored from defensive mistakes and the static nature of that midfield. Verona managed to equalise, and they get the point against Juventus. I think everybody knows what this means. Juventus are getting closer and closer to being eliminated from that title race, if not already eliminated. And I know, 46 points, yes, there's 7 points. Mathematically, they could still do it. Inter could still lose against Genoa. AC Milan could still drop points against AC Milan could still drop points against Roma on Sunday, and I know that could happen. But seriously, does anybody believe that Juventus is going to be winning the league or making a sort of comeback? The others will be inconsistent. We can guarantee that. But are Juventus themselves consistent? They should find consistency somewhere, and they won't do that. Pirlo is just, not gonna find that because the players aren't going to be helping him. Starting with the wrong lineup, really, against a side like against a side like Verona, you had Of course, forced, I think, by the injuries of the likes of Danilo being suspended, Quadrado being injured, Chiellini, Bonucci, Arthur, Dybala, Morata. He was forced to make some changes, but still, he forced to start with three in the back, and those three in the back, one of them was a left back. So that's quite the makeshift position for Alexandro. He couldn't deal with it well. The equalizer came from the right hand side, where Chiesa is the wing back, and Chiesa being a wing back isn't exactly effective. When you have the likes of Bernardeschi not doing well, Ramsey not doing well, Rabiot asked to be the sort of holding block almost in front of Bentancur, who seems lost all sort of confidence after that game against Porto. Ronaldo scored the goal, but aside from that, nothing from him in that game. When you have a nothing game like this, you will end up drawing and dropping points like that against sides that are more than willing, really, to attack behind the lines, attack behind the spaces that you leave. And certainly, Verona are one of those sides. They're not exactly the side they want to sit in the back and just ball watching and defend till the whistle is blown. They like to go forward, and they will go forward. In the end, I would say that Juventus are mostly out of the title race in the Serie A. They have little of a chance to go back into that mix. The rest of the fixtures, of course, today on Sunday are headlined by AS Roma versus AC Milan later on in the night, but before that, Sampdoria face Atalanta, Udinese face Fiorentina, Inter face Genoa, Crotone face Cagliari, Benevento travel to Napoli, and then, of course, the big game between AS Roma and AC Milan. That's it from me for this episode. Always your boy, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version, subscribe to the channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from the podcast episodes and other content on the channel. Follow us on social media, SiteBSB on Twitter, page SitePod on Instagram, and you can listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform. And until next time, I will see you soon. Goodbye.